Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, I'm going to talk about a phrase that I think I'm going to copy from now on. And I'm not going to sure if I'm going to use it in every single video, called the Cultural Hypnotic Societal Mechanism. So this is a phrase that I first heard from a YouTuber named Myron Golden. Right. And if you don't know who Myron is, he's like a business development coach. And the really impressive thing about him is that he grew a YouTube channel in like 2022 to 500,000 subs in 1 year. It's really impressive. And he talks a lot about a lot of good topics. And one of the things that I'm going to do is steal a phrase from him called the Cultural Hypnotic Societal Mechanism, right? And it's the way that I think about it is like something in the air that makes you do things that are against your best interest, right? So when it comes to, for example, like eating food, why is it that so many people will happily like devour a fast food meal and they'll say no thanks to like a green juice or smoothie? You ever notice that? If you ever been in the health space, so many people will like devour a fast food meal, and then many times I've tried to prepare like juices for other people and they're like, no thanks, right? I'm like, what? Like, I'm trying to help you, bro. Same thing with your finances, too. And you'll notice that a lot of people will do shocking things, right? And the funny thing about being in my position is that sometimes I talk with a lot of you on one-on-one Zoom calls, and you tell me your family drama. Like, I'm a stranger to you, but you'll tell me like, hey, what's going on with your life? I remember like a year ago, I met an elderly gentleman who was just giving it like about every single thing about his family, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty deep. And I'm a little bit flattered that you're telling me like, wow, what's going on with your family, and how it's affecting your finances. But I never even thought I'd be like in a Dr. Phil position. But what's crazy is I'm in the same boat as you, right? So a lot of my struggles, fears, um, I always wonder like why is it that my friends and family like I feel like they're making some bizarre choices in life. And I'm gonna just kind of go over some simple examples regarding that, right? So when I first learned about velocity banking, I think what the biggest shock to me was learning just how a mortgage works. So some of you all, I know like you all want to like show off your knowledge to other people and say like, look at this thing where you can pay off your mortgage in 5 to 7 years without changing your lifestyle, right? I remember when I first heard that message because I was only making 20 grand a year, it did not resonate with me. It did not resonate with me because there was no way at that time I thought, wow, it's possible for me to even buy a home, right? Out of my uh, possibility, my realm of what's possible or not, I didn't resonate with that. In fact, like I was more interested in like learning how to buy a home with like no money down. Like that would have been more interesting to me because I had no money, right? But anyways, back to my point. One of the things that I understood, or I was shocked to understand, was just how much money people were willing to pay to a bank for a mortgage, right? And so right now, I think mortgage rates actually, I think they're like 7, 8%. Let's just look them up right now. So mortgage rates, do that. So about 7.4%, right? I think it was even as high as like the high sevens, 7.9, low eights. But when I found out about how a mortgage unit works, I was just shocked. I didn't even care about Velocity Bank. I was shocked. This is how much a bank makes in a 30-year mortgage at 3%, right? And if this topic is completely new to you, I'm just going to show you an easy way to verify what I'm saying. So if you go to bankrate.com, type in more amortization calculator on Google, and you'll be able to find lots of amortizations calculators. I like bank rates because I think it's easy to use. But let's say you got a $200,000 loan, right, at 3%. Okay. Look at what you're paying in interest, right? So even though it's a 3% loan, you're actually paying after 30 years 50% interest on that loan. And I was shocked. And you know why I was shocked? Because I remember as a little kid whenever I asked for parents, relatives, other people for money, they would act like it is the biggest deal that I would want like an extra $1 or $2 or even $20, right? But when I saw how much they're willing to like happily give to a bank, and people get so excited about 3% mortgages, like, oh my goodness, it's the perfect time to buy a home because we're going to get we qualify for a 3% mortgage. What does that actually mean? We're willing to pay 50% to the bank, right? And if we just type in these mortgage rates, so for example, 7.4, let's just type in 7.4. How much are we paying? Oh my goodness, look at that. That's disgusting. That's like 150% interest. And in fact, it's all proportional, right? So let me just do $100,000 loan and see, yeah, about 150% interest, right? And so when I found out that, our society, we are trained by the Cultural Hypnotic Societal Mechanism, Myron Golden's word that I'm copying, to do so little for our local communities. You ever notice that? Like, that's why I say, I mean, if you're having family issues or if you're having issues with friends and you're wondering, scratching your head, why do they do so little for you? It's because by the time all the time we spent in our formative years, we've been trained by our society to not put any value in our local community. This is why when high school students, they're in that frenzy and competition to go to college, they just kind of almost sabotage each other and they want nothing to do with each other once they graduate high school. And this is why some of your friends and family, well, many of your friends and family, if you ever ask them for money, like, hey bro, can I borrow like $5 or $10? And or if they borrow money from you, for example, let's say they borrow $10 from you, would they be willing to give you $5 in interest, like 50%, like they would to a bank, right? You know what's really insane? Okay, I'm going to show you what's really insane. If, let's say, I lent out $100, right? I lent out $100 to a friend or family member, and I say, okay, well, give me back the 100, and then give me back an extra 50. How many would say yes to that? Pretty much nobody. Like, are you insane? Why would I do that for my friend or family member? Like, do we want? And it's like, okay, well, you wouldn't do that for me, but you do that for a bank, right? Isn't that insane? Because think about it. I do. They wouldn't do that for $100, but what if they borrowed $100,000 at a 3% interest rate for 30 years, and they're happily, because you ever see people excited about that 3% interest rate? They're happily willing to pay 50% interest to the bank, but they would never do that for you, right? And this is why I talk about don't try to sell it to friends and family, because they've been brainwashed by the quote cultural hypnotic societal mechanism that we shouldn't distribute or pass around money in our local economy to the people that we know, right? What we're going to do is we're going to spend all of our time and efforts into, paying big institutions, right? Because that's what the cultural hypnotic societal mechanism has taught us. Isn't that sick? I feel sick knowing that. I feel sick that I've lent money to people. They won't even pay back the principal, right? Like, I have to write off at loss. And then, I keep my own mental credit profile on people who borrow money from me. But if they borrowed money from a bank, they'd be happy to pay 50% interest. But if they ever did that for me, they'd think like it's the end of the world, right? And I feel disgusted knowing that too. But that's the thing. That's why we need a cultural change. We need a leadership change. We have to be the leaders of the society that we want to create. But realize right now, in 2023, and it's been like this for a long time, your friends and family won't do much for you, right? They won't support you. They won't lift you up. I mean, if you're part of that, I'll say 2% of people who has that, you're in the good group, right? Now, some of you might say like, well, I have that, but realize that, yeah, you do, but most people don't. Okay, just like most people live paycheck to paycheck. So if you don't live paycheck to paycheck, you're in the good group, right? But you're in the good but rare group. Okay, but it's so disgusting to me how, as a society, we've trained our population to not do anything for our friends and local community, friends, family, and local community, right? But that's the thing I really want to emphasize, the need to support each other and a need for community. So even if you don't have it, let's say in your actual local area, because again, everybody in this global society is part of the cultural hypnotic societal mechanism, right? No, there's no real escape from it unless you're trying to actively escape from the matrix, which few people do. But realize most people won't lift a finger for you, right? Most people, not all, but most, right? So if you ever scratch your head wondering why, like, why is it that, people will give 100 hours of their body, time, and energy a week to a workplace, but they'll do absolutely nothing for you, it's because of that. We've been trained to not value our relationships with the people who could help us the most because it does not benefit the people who control this society, right? And a lot of times the control is very, 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 I don't even know how to explain it. Like it's so weak that we almost voluntarily submit to it. Like I've never been in a room, no one's locked me up in a room and to brainwash me to believe that a bank paying a bank 50% interest is the right thing to do rather than help out my friends or family, or my friends and family to pay me that kind of money if I ever lent them money. So the control is actually very weak, and I think people just voluntarily submit to it just because they're lazy. Not gonna lie, right? But yeah, so this just kind of my insight for today regarding how the institutions of society, like the banks, why it is that they succeed is because we voluntarily submit to them, right? And because we're willing to help them more than we're willing to help our local communities, that's why they have the biggest buildings in every single downtown in America. It's disgusting, right? And let me just do this before I end for today. So we see that 3% is about 51% interest. Let's do 5.4. That's about 100% interest, right? So if you ever get like a 5.4% mortgage, realize you're almost paying for two houses, right? I get there's that down payment part, but let's just assume it's 100% financing. You pay one house for yourself and then one house to the bank. Now, if you ever get into subprime territory, which is like nine above sevens, right? And these, types of loans are actually common. The rates that are common for investors, because a personal primary residence has a lower rate than an investment property. Look at how much you're paying. So for $100,000 loan, $200,000 in interest. So how many houses are you paying for? You're paying for three, right? One loan, one house for yourself, and then two to the bank. Oh, this makes me sick. All right, so this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So if you're interested in joining our group, go ahead and click the Google Form link below and get a one-on-one Zoom call. Otherwise, we only have 3 days left till the end of the new year, so just keep cranking out some videos and until see if we reach that 1500 sub mark. Other than that, have a great day, and we will speak next time.